Yeah.
Yes.
5 out of 7. Perfect score.
Perfect Score Podcast, and welcome to episode 40 of the CouncilCast, being
Hot damn.
recorded on April 24th, 2018.
It's a lot.
The council is now in session, and as with every week, we'll make arbitrary decisions about topics on science, technology, and random shit with little background and next to no expertise, and including made-up grading scales. All the CouncilCast decisions are final and have no bearing on anything whatsoever.
Yeah, I really think we should be rating on a scale out of 7 for this one. Instead of
Done.
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Done.
Or
I like
we
it.
can thumbs up, thumbs down, but also give it a rating.
Let's do both. Both is better than one.
If you give a rating out of 7, you can do it on your fingers plus a thumb.
Oh, nice. Grading scale like no other.
That way, all of our visual listeners will be able to see what we're rating everything as.
Perfect 5 out of 7.
Anyway, this week we're going to start off in some science.
Why not?
And to start with, we've got Virgin Galactic completing their first powered flight since the 2014 crash. So I put this on here because I thought that this was rather interesting. You know, Virgin Galactic is one of those guys who's making that commercial tourism to space type of plane. And they crashed their plane back in 2014 when I guess the wings inadvertently moved or something like that and killed, I think, one of the pilots or something like that. But they're now back. They've got a new plane, and they're doing their powered flights again. So
They haven't flown since 2014.
Nope.
Interesting.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We
I
just don't
switched-
care.
Okay, good. Perfect. I switched my microphone over. That would be more professional sounding.
So this is the Richard Branson venture, just like everything else, but that's Virgin branded, it seems like. But yeah, so soon enough, maybe you'll be able to ride on one of these and go to space and maybe come back as long as it doesn't crash.
Okay. I'm down to clown.
Down to clown. I think it's good to see more competition though in this space because we've got now Virgin doing it. You've got Blue Origin doing this space tourism thing, and you've got, well, you could probably consider SpaceX doing it too at some point in time. Is there anybody else out there
Doing what?
space tourism or planning on it?
Who was doing that?
I don't think Blue
the hotel in space last week.
I don't know, some Chinese people.
Then them. They're also doing SpaceX. Well, Space Tourism X.
Blue. I assume Blue Origin won't be doing any of that.
What, space tourism?
Yeah.
That's like their primary goal.
That's Blue Origin's goal?
Yeah.
Who
like,
am I thinking of? I might have said the wrong one.
Blue Origin's like they're starting rather small, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna build a spacecraft that can just take you up barely into space, and then you can come back on it. But they're also developing their own rockets to do it.
What's the name of the venture between the big aeronautics guys?
Oh, the Wright brothers.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Orbital ATK?
Mm,
No, it's
it's the one between like Boeing and
Lockheed, I think, or something like that. United Launch Alliance.
That's what I
ULA.
was thinking of.
Yeah.
They're more the whole government contractor.
Yeah, they're like the big government contractor guys that SpaceX is kind of disrupting right now.
Right.
But which is kind of different than like the space tourism guys, because these guys are like, no, we're just going to go to barely to space, and we're not going to really take much payload, but we're going to put like 5 people in this thing or something.
Yeah.
So you can pay millions of dollars to go to space for 5
So
minutes.
do you think Obama's going to do this?
What?
Probably.
Obama's going to do what?
Hop on this flight thing I mean, because he and Richard Branson are like.
Oh,
tight.
I was like, what does Obama have to do with anything? I mean, who wouldn't want to do this?
I mean, after he left office,
friends, I would totally be begging him to do this.
Do you think his friends call him Richard or like Richie or Rich or Rich
call
Dog?
Him Richie Rich.
Rich.
TM.
It's actually what the movie is made after.
How did he make his millions? Just like investing, just like general
Richard
investing.
Branson?
Yeah.
No.
How did
he make his millions then?
Richard Branson die? is what Google comes up with. Get his money.
Virgin Records.
Virgin Mail Order Records.
Huh.
Yep.
I actually had no idea. I mean, he's obviously most famous probably right now for his Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
Didn't they just buy into Hyperloop? Yeah. Invested in Hyperloop.
Yeah. Oh, they did?
Because they're now technically, I think, called Virgin Hyperloop 1 or something like that.
Speaking of, apparently he's getting looped into this sex slave cult thing. They held wild parties on Sir Richard Branson's private island.
They probably showed up. Yeah.
Oh, it's this whole thing that's going on with a former actress from Smallville and some cult pyramid scheme she's part of that was apparently part of like sex trafficking.
Yuck.
Yuck indeed. What's not yucky is going to space and taking pictures of the Earth.
That's right.
Not anymore.
Well, not anymore. You can't do that. Maybe if
we didn't vote.
We didn't vote? Oh yeah, we didn't vote. What's your voting on Virgin Galactic?
I mean,
perfect 5 out of 7.
Perfect 5 out of 7 for sure.
Mine's a thumbs up and a perfect 7
out
of 5.
Thumbs up for going to space.
I'm going to give it a thumbs down, but it still gets a perfect 5 out of 7.
Very rarely will go into space not get a perfect 5 out of 7 from me.
So if you are in space, you may or may not have to apply to take video of the Earth.
What happens to all them weather balloons that people have been sending up with their GoPros attached?
That's what the hell I'm trying to figure out. Is that like NOAA has made this big stink about SpaceX now, except there's like a bajillion other people who are doing this.
Like, why are they now choosing to make a stink out of it?
Because they can they recognize that the people who are doing this are rich and that they can take money from them.
Probably.
Oh, I'm going to tax that because money. You have it. I want it.
I'm betting the biggest reason is just because of the length of how long they live streamed the Tesla in orbit.
So what?
Because it was publicly available.
What does that have to do with anything?
So to back it up, NOAA has said that you have to basically, due to a 26-year-old law, you have to have a license to be able to film the Earth from orbit.
Why?
And the reasoning is, and I get this, and if we're looking back 26 years, it maybe makes sense. But it was back at a time when they basically were saying that you cannot do any remote sensing of the Earth from space because at the time, I'm reading from this article, private companies were interested in launching Earth imaging satellites to make money, but the U.S. was worried that they might inadvertently snap pictures of troop movements overseas and then sell that data to foreign governments. So they basically said, we're going to force everybody who wants to do that to license the picture taking so that they can control it a little bit. And at the time, back in 1992, when this law was passed, satellite imaging wasn't very good, and so and it was very expensive to do, so there wasn't really many people doing it. And now cameras are so cheap and it's so easy, relatively easy to get into space, that everybody is doing it, and that's where it's coming from.
Interesting.
So it's an old law that probably doesn't make any sense anymore. And yet, NOAA is still going to enact it, I guess, against Tesla. Or against SpaceX, I should say.
I don't understand why.
They were afraid of getting images of the troops to foreign governments.
But yeah, we got a lot of troops moving in Florida.
They're talking about troop movements in other countries outside of the U.S.
Except none of that footage that was taken from the whole Starman out there is like high resolution enough to do anything with.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the point, is that it's worthless. Plus, the countries that are probably going to buy it probably have their own satellites in space taking images already.
Exactly. Well, whatever. Like everybody that wants that shit have got. The Russians have their own satellites.
Yeah, I think it's totally ridiculous. And it even seems they're a little hit and miss on which. So it all came up because SpaceX basically said they weren't going to live stream the footage of one of their launches once it reaches space. Except even that's been a little hit and miss because some of them they have and some of them they haven't.
Mm.
So it's unclear if they actually have a license from NOAA or not. But I just think it's a dumb law. So I'm going to give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs down. Fuck
Perfect
that.
5 out of 7.
No, it's like a negative 5 out of 7.
It's like a negative 0 out of 5.
-0, my favorite number.
So anyway, we're gonna move on into our technology section of the rundown.
Technologic.
And
Technology
first up is charging while you drive. So who wouldn't want to charge your electric vehicle while you drive? And
I had this idea as a kid. I just want to say, first off, this was my idea when I was 12. I said, why don't they invent electric cars that just keep going and you never have to stop? And my uncle said, because of the laws of physics, that, energy is lost. And I said, well, what if one energy source is charging while the other energy source is being used to power the vehicle? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Never stops. Anyway, keep going.
Free energy.
It's perpetual motion isn't a thing.
It would last a hell of a lot longer.
Lots of laws that need to apply.
Yeah, and bumblebees aren't supposed to be able to fly until you recognize that the laws actually do work for them to fly.
Interesting.
Science, baby.
Science. It works. So anyway, Sweden modified a road in Sweden where they can they have basically an electric rail in the roadway where if you have an EV that has this arm, it can go down and touch the rail and actually recharge its batteries while it's driving on this road.
Can you imagine getting ejected from your car and landing on the rail?
So I have a couple different thoughts. First of all, this is like the third rail being brought back, except in a way more dangerous way. And then the third is, so we're basically back to trains. Is my next thought.
Yeah, I just think that there are better ways to charge your vehicle while it's going. Like you have, like I said, one battery is charging while the other one is being used. And you mix that with solar and you mix that with wind. Man, think about it. If you had on top of your car
a wind turbine?
A wind turbine.
Powered while you're driving forward.
Come on. Tell me that's not a brilliant idea.
So smart.
Thank you. Thank you.
We all bow before your just gargantuan knowledge of physics.
I guess I want to know, like you said, is what happens if you touch this rail? I mean, do they have something?
What happens if you pee on it?
Yeah, what happens if you pee on it?
Do you often pee out of your car?
I mean, so what if you pulled over and
yes.
Then you'd be peeing like into traffic.
No, I do it out the back of the car, so it doesn't bother me.
Don't pee into the wind. That's rule number 1.
Yeah.
1 million euros per kilometer.
Where did you see that? That's how much
At
it
the bottom of
costs.
the article, the electric
Oh.
rail system is expected to cost 1 million euros per kilometer, which would make it 50 times cheaper than building an urban tram line, according to the Guardian.
I'm confused how you stay on the rail.
You have to just drive on top of it, I guess. Like there's no guidance for it.
So sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. Because you are or are not using actually on the rail.
Yep.
I assume the thing underneath the car has some amount of play. And
Yeah.
can kind of go from side to side until you are clearly changing lanes, and then it'll pick up off of it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it does say that they are planning to install it on 20,000 kilometers of highway.
Yeah, which would be 20,000 times, what did I say? 1 million per kilometer? Is it 200 million euros, or is it 2 billion euros? I don't know. I can't math.
It's a lot of dollars.
200 million billion.
I like the idea because, I mean, if you're on the road, if it's like on main highways or something like that, I wonder how long it takes to charge, though. Because if you're
20.
on the
Call is way off.
if you're on the road, on the highway, and you're charging while you're going to and from work, let's say, and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to go home. You just hop off the highway, drive 20 miles, and then the next day, you drive the 20 miles back to the highway or something. Like, is it charging fast enough that you don't ever have to charge at home?
I don't know. I mean, does it say anything in here about the charging rate that it can provide?
It doesn't really say. It just says that it's going to charge.
I mean,
I'm wondering what voltage is it running at?
I don't. It doesn't have any of that I've seen in here. I don't know. You'd have to find some more white paper on it, probably.
High octane.
It's an interesting idea, but I also think that it kind of goes. I mean, they mentioned that it is cheaper than installing a tram line, but I mean, essentially, you're almost creating the same thing. Just bring your own tram instead of we provide the tram.
BYOT, my favorite way to travel.
I'm just not sure how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's
dangerous.
It's nowhere near the level of expertise and cleverness that my self-propelling perpetual motion car is. So,
I mean, it's definitely not as far advanced as your perpetual motion car.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Think about if the whole front of the car had turbines in it, and so there's like these multiple sources powering the charging unit as you're going forward. You would lose energy, but you'd lose energy so much more slowly because you're constantly refueling energy by the energy that you're expelling. See what I'm saying?
Perfect.
I think you just need to build a prototype by next week, Silas, and tell us how it works.
Yeah.
By next week? Okay, I'll get on that as soon as Matt finishes his review.
His review's done. You showed it to us earlier.
Oh, that's right, I did.
Pressure's on now.
Damn. All right, I'll eat my words.
So electrified roads, is this something that's going to take off, you think? People want to do this?
Oh yeah. I give it a thumbs up, but I give it a -0 out of 7.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see the results of it and how they power it. Like, are they powering it straight off the normal, like, electrical grid? Or are we talking, like, some form of, like, solar stuff or other types of energy that are going to go up to supply it?
I don't know. I'm going to try and look. I don't know.
It's so hard to tell because this is one of those.
No.
This is one of those things where we could laugh at it, and tomorrow it could be something that they're building in the United States because it catches on, or someone with enough money and power pushes for it. I mean, that's how we end up with cars. Am I right? But I don't think it's going to take off because I'm going to build my prototype by next week. And so people are just going to be using the perpetual motion car.
I guess, another thing is if you're gonna have to have this like little rail thing that drops down from the car, I mean, how many car manufacturers are gonna adopt this if Sweden is the only country that's doing it?
It's going to be something that's going to have to be retrofitted to all. The majority of the cars there are going to have to be retrofitted with it. It's going to be
So who pays for that shit? You have to pay for that as the owner?
probably. Well, it's Sweden. They're probably not. Like everyone just probably gets it as like a birthday present or something. Their government's all like, "Happy birthday!"
And they're saying the service won't be free, so you're gonna have to pay for the electricity that you use while you drive on it as well.
Oh yeah, they're going to get people by the millions.
I don't know.
Turning this
I still
idea
can't
down.
figure out how this damn thing works, even though apparently there's one that's open and running today. But nobody can tell me how it works. So I'm going to give it a thumbs down because I don't understand enough about it. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
If they can tell me how it works, then I will maybe reevaluate my opinion.
Hashtag no promises.
Sure, no problem.
And if anybody can tell me how it works, please tweet me at the CouncilCast.
I love it.
Let's do it. Email me at councilcast@gmail.com, and I may look at your email and consider it thoughtfully.
Or we may delete it.
Or we may not know that it even showed up in the inbox.
Or I may read your name out on the next CouncilCast.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for your email.
Thank you, Redacted, for your submission to.
If you also want to send me a $5 bill, that would also be sweet too. I'll take that.
Doritos Locos.
And we want to thank our podcast sponsor tonight of Redacted.
Redacted. Engadget, because every single article tonight was from Engadget.
Not every single one.
I think that's where Blaine gets his news.
It's just where I go get the easy news.
Mm.
But on Engadget, they do mention
weak.
Boo! Boo! When
last week you were on point.
He's tired. Give him a break.
Today it's a tired day. I hear you.
But speaking of tired, AMD calls out NVIDIA because they're tired of NVIDIA's crap and all of their gamer taxes. How about that?
And all their what?
Gamer tax. So has anybody heard about this? It's their new.
None of it fucking matters because you can't get either card for a reasonable price anyway. They all cost $1,000. Like,
this is true.
And it doesn't help because crypto's going back up.
I saw an NVIDIA 1080 on sale the other day for $600 because that's totally MSRP.
I don't even know what MSRP. I mean, I think that's what I paid for my 1080.
I don't think that's what 1080 is MSRP at though today.
Not anymore.
It's like $500.
But brand new.
Anyway, NVIDIA has launched their partner program, and what this is apparently a promotional push by NVIDIA through PC builders and the and component manufacturers that basically says that if you want to have, I think the big takeaway, there's a bunch of stuff to it, but I'm going to say the biggest takeaway is that if you want to brand an NVIDIA card with a branding, so if you're MSI, if you're Asus, and you want to have a branded gaming line, for example, I think Asus has the ROG.
Republic of Gamers, yeah.
Yep. So if you have ROG branding, you cannot have, if you sign up for the program, you cannot have NVIDIA cards and AMD cards in that same line. So they basically
they have to have two separate lines, one for NVIDIA and one for AMD.
Yes, exactly. And the whole reasoning behind it,
I don't necessarily think that that's an unreasonable request.
How so?
Because I can understand why NVIDIA wouldn't want, like, just using the ROG stuff from Asus as an example, they wouldn't want it to be confusing in any way whatsoever that you can get both a AMD branded one and an NVIDIA branded one under the same line of stuff, and they're just I understand why they want it. Is it kind of a dick move? Yeah.
So
But then again, like it's their friggin' chips. They don't have to sell them to whoever they want, and they can make whatever rules they want around them.
so I'm just a little confused. What are the G Spot gamer taxes?
Yeah, that's it.
I had a straight face. I said it, and then
I think it's a little harsh. I think it is a dick move for NVIDIA to say, though, that you have to do it this way when it's MSI or Asus's branding. And I mean, I think a lot of the branding revolves around them saying, well, this is the best card that we've got, or we've clocked these the best to be gamer focused, or they have the best coolers on them, or whatever.
Is anybody really buying cards based on it having a ROG tag on it? I'm not.
I think so. I do.
Like,
I legitimately think people are.
But who?
People who care about that shit, I guess, because they want to have ROG everything.
I mean, I guess so. Gigabyte has Aorus.
Yep.
And I can't remember. And I mean, I guess
Everybody has a
technically
gaming
I'm
brand
buying
now.
that stuff when I do buy stuff, but it's not because it has that name attached. It just happens to be that they put that on their high-end objects.
Yes.
Like,
But that's kind of the idea, is that you're supposed to be able to use those names to recognize the high-end objects.
but I don't choose my video card based on which product line it's under the remanufacture, like the board partners. Like, I'm choosing it based off whatever's out at the time from either manufacturer. Like, I already know which card I want, and then I choose the manufacturer based on whatever. And lately it's been EVGA.
Yeah, I think that I think that you're probably not going to really care, and I would agree. I don't really care about this too much either, because I'm still going to know which brand of card or which whatever it is that I'm going to be buying.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a detriment to the manufacturers, who now have to basically, if they want to be able to sell both NVIDIA and AMD cards with a gaming line, they now have to put in twice the amount of money for marketing content.
Yeah, they have to double the marketing shit. I mean, it's a shitty move in that regard.
And then they can't skin everything the same way. They can't, just use the same labels. It's all
So in some
different.
instances, you're absolutely going to push some third parties to not even do AMD cards anymore if it's not much of a seller for them anyway.
Right.
But then again, if it's not much of a seller for them anyway, do you really care?
I mean, money, some's better than none.
I mean, yes, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. AMD really dug into NVIDIA on it, I guess, last week, calling that out, plus the whole G-Sync thing and GameWorks and everything like that. But
I just wonder if they're doing it so that they, like, I wonder if they're getting ready to roll out something new themselves, and they want to be like, look, these guys suck. And so then in a couple of months, they'll be like, oh, look, we have such a much better solution, which is exactly the same thing that they're doing.
I don't know when the new stuff is supposed to roll.
I don't think so, per se. I think that NVIDIA just wants to control the entire stream, all the way from manufacturer to basically end user experience.
And unfortunately, the leg that AMD had to stand on, which was performance per dollar, is just, I mean, it's been crushed. Like, the NVIDIA cards are too good, and the AMD cards are too good at doing the coin mining shit. And the market for both AMD and NVIDIA cards has just been driven way out of control by all the mining that's happening. And yeah, I get nobody who's looking for a video card today is happy about it.
No, I mean, you can't buy one for reasonable prices right now.
No, it's pretty ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, even AMD's performance, though, has not been nearly on par with what even NVIDIA's stuff is lately.
Yeah, and I think some of the problem has been is like with each new release with AMD, everybody's like, This one's the second coming of Jesus. Finally, like this is going to be the time that it actually just absolutely dominates. And then the numbers come out, and they're pretty like they're good, but they're like
Yeah.
it's nowhere near the level of let's do this, Leroy Jenkins, like that you were expecting. It just doesn't happen. So
Yeah, they can usually make it up on the dollar side, but
yeah, I
and,
was
you know,
I was
they
really
have some
happy
other
with
things
it.
going for them. You know, they do mention there is a lot of just openness from the
Which I
FreeSync
mean,
side, which is
and that's
nice.
fine. I like that. Like, I mean, if I were to buy now, I'd be looking at AMD probably, but I don't. I've been doing Nvidia stuff for a long time now. I used to do AMD.
So I mean, they've certainly improved a lot of other aspects that make them a little bit more. At least bring them up to par with what Nvidia is doing. As long as now they just need to get the performance to the same level. But if Nvidia is going to lock them out of some manufacturers, possibly, then that's not good for competition.
Nope.
So I'm going to give the partner program a thumbs down.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a shit move.
I'm gonna give the call out a thumbs up.
A call out.
All right.
Thanks for calling them out.
It's a good
Perfect 5 out of 7.
3 out of 5, 3 out of 7. Perfect. So I mean, if you're in love with Google Voice, you might not be in love with this next story. Which is saying that if you're on Sprint, Google Voice integration is no longer going to be there.
What does that mean, though?
So back in when did they have it? I remember when this came out, and I thought that Anthony had this for a while. But
Yeah,
I mean, I know tons of people with Google Voice. Most of those people have switched to Project Fi now.
yeah, so what this was it was kind of like that, where if you had Google Voice and you had a Sprint account, you could actually have your Google Voice number be your Sprint number. So if you have Google Voice today and you're not on like Project Fi or something like that, I don't know how Project Fi does it, but
you can't have a Project Fi number and a Google Voice. Like you have to switch to Project Fi. Like it's
okay,
it's different.
so it's kind of the same thing. But like today, I have a Google Voice number, but I also have to have my carrier's number. So you can call my Google Voice, but it gets forwarded to my carrier number anyway. Where here, like Project Fi, I'm assuming your number was also your carrier's number. So I guess for a while that used to be the case on Sprint, and now they're gonna kill that off. Which I'm not really surprised about. I'm surprised it lasted this long, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Google's going to pull all of your Google Voice numbers back to them, and if you are still on Sprint and have a Google Voice that's integrated into it, like this, you'll be able to still keep that number, but you'll now have to get a second Sprint number, just like everybody else, I guess.
So I currently have a Google Voice number through my business, SJ Film Productions. And so that was like my business number. And I just got a text from someone, a client today, that showed up in my email.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that I'm going to have to take, like message this? This is basically the only client who's using that number at this point, because I've slowly phased out a lot of work as we've been traveling. But do I need to contact that person and say, hey, I'm no longer on this number? Like,
Not
is that
unless
service?
number has anything to do with Sprint?
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
because I was like, it has nothing to do with Sprint. It just is a Google Voice number that I have. So
yeah, it really only is applying to people who are on Sprint with their Google Voice number as their Sprint number. And like I said, your Google Voice number will still work. It's just that you now are going to have a second phone number through Sprint. So just kind of a PSA out there for people who are doing that. I don't know of anybody who was doing this. Like I said, I don't know why anybody would have switched to Sprint to do this, I guess.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Like I said, I never thought this was going to last long anyway, so it was a good idea. I guess if you want to keep one number, just move to Project Fi.
Yeah.
If you
I
like
don't know.
to do a
I'm
voiceover
getting ready.
at least.
I'm getting ready to buy my. I'm hopefully going to get an iPhone again. We'll see. We'll see how soon that happens.
Are you done with your Project Fi experiment?
I'm personally done having a Google Pixel. I
Mine has
love the camera.
Mine has been nothing but good.
I am just not. It's user error 9 times out of 10, but I prefer my iPhone and knowing how things are set up and how I can like navigate quickly to things and shortcuts, and I know which apps. Like mine came pre-installed with a bunch of apps, and I'm like, I don't know if I need this or not, and so it's just like sitting in the background, and I don't know. I just suck at having a PC anything
It's
or
not
PC related.
It's Android. It's not affiliated with PC in any way.
No, yeah, it is.
You're one of those terrible
because it's
Mac
not
users.
Mac, therefore it is PC.
I
don't think you
guess.
understand.
You're
I don't
right.
think you understand.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and give this story a good old thumbs down because of Sprint, because Sprint's involved, and
I'm not gonna
sure what they're
vote
doing.
because I don't care.
But I will give it a 2 out of 7.
What's your rating then, Matt?
Fine. Indifferent.
Negative
He's giving it a 5 out of 7.
Indifferent out of 7.
Yeah, there we go.
It's one hell of a grading scale.
It's a pretty good grading scale, but what else is a good grading scale is warranty voiding, and how good.
It's terrible.
How many warranties can you void before you get in trouble? But this is a new FTC has come out and basically said that you can now fix your own devices. So if you have anything that says that basically you have to remove this sticker and it breaks your warranty, if you remove that sticker, the FTC is saying, well, yeah, that's illegal. So you actually can break that sticker without voiding your warranty. I'm not really sure how they're going to enforce this, but I like the idea.
Yeah. I'm curious about it for the reason of Mac computers, because if Mac has always said if you open it up or try to tinker with or do anything, then
They don't actually.
They do on the batteries. If you open up if you take the back cover off of your Apple, where the battery is, you can still do some work, but it does say there is a sticker that if you remove the battery, that it voids your warranty.
The battery itself.
Yes.
No one's stopping you from replacing a fan.
Correct. Yes. Exactly.
Unless you call in to talk to Apple about any of it. They're like, oh, if you open up the computer at all, that voids the warranty is the language. Or if they don't say it that way, they at least hint at it in a way that is very scary. So hopefully I can throw this FTC thing in their face.
I think you're definitely right. I think a lot of the manufacturers, I mean, we've been hearing more and more about it, where anything that anybody wants to do on it, their manufacturers are basically saying, no, can't do it, can't open it, can't do anything, can't modify it. You're going to void your warranty.
I mean, it's not just, farm manufacturers are doing it. John Deere's trying to do it with their tractors, and farmers are telling them to go fuck themselves, basically.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and I think it's a really shitty deal, because I think that we should be allowed to still be able to modify, maybe not modify, but at least do some of our own repairs. If you can do the repair yourself, let me do my own repair,
Right.
I think there is a fine line there. Like, I can understand why they wouldn't want you to be repairing something that requires a great amount of skill or
tools,
lots of tools you might not have or whatever, but because they don't want to be responsible
for what you do to it.
if you further damage the device and then try to send it in as like a warranty thing,
Yeah.
then it's on them to prove that you like did something you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Which is expensive to do, and it might be more expensive than to just repair the damn thing, even though like it's all the result of something you did.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I mean, I sometimes know what my limits are. I mean, I've replaced multiple screens and phones and tablets and stuff like that, and I totally know that as I'm taking this apart, I can't send it in for any more warranty repairs. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm literally replacing. I can replace anything I want in this, so.
I mean,
to
there's
me,
a
it
difference
doesn't matter
between
as much
like,
if I can do that, but I'm not going to go do that on my car, for example.
because like I should be able to replace like the screen in like my laptop, right? Or replace the screen assembly with the hinges and all that stuff, and not get accosted by the company when I send in the laptop to have it fixed because the hard drive failed 3 months later, and they're like, "Oh, well, the warranty seal is broken. You just blanket no, like you no more for you." It's like, I mean, I was working on something, and I mean, I did actual repair work for 4 years at a place professionally. Like,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. And if I know that I did something to it that broke like something else, I'm not going to try to claim it on my warranty either.
But I can see how some people might.
Yeah.
They claim it's a fallback. Oh, I'm going to try it because it's way too expensive to send it in or whatever. And
yeah,
and they're like, oh, fuck, I fucked it up even more. I'm going to send it in now. And it's like,
yeah,
no, it just doesn't work that way. But I think you're right. I mean, for the people who know what they're doing, it kind of sucks if they're going to say no warranty because you broke the warranty, replacing something that's totally unrelated to what you are having issues with today.
Well, there's certain things too, like usually that warranty void seal, if broken, I see that on a lot of devices that I'm not sure why I would be opening in the first place. Like, I can understand why, Seagate or Western Digital or Hitachi are going to void your hard drive warranties when the warranty void of seal broken sticker is broken.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the platters out myself and fix them.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a valid reason. Like, you're gonna, I don't know, like maybe you're replacing like a magnet in there, or what? I can't even think of a good example. But I was just trying to think of that. Like, but I guess if those stickers exist on like consoles and stuff, like I understand why somebody would be kind of pissed off if all they're doing is opening it up to replace like the optical drive. Like,
yeah, well, and it goes a little bit. It goes a little further than that because even in this article, it does talk about Nintendo's warranty on the Switch. That says that the warranty shall not apply if this product is used with products not sold or licensed by Nintendo. So it goes even beyond a sticker and repairing, but saying if you don't use our product with our licensed parts, then you have no warranty. Because there was a thing, I would say maybe a month ago, where third-party docks were coming out for the Switch, and they were actually bricking Switches if you used them. And Nintendo basically said, that's too bad. Wasn't a licensed dock, so no warranty.
The dock itself was bricking the Switch.
Yes. If you had it was due to
it
was a software update, and then all of a sudden it started bricking things.
I was gonna say, if you buy some third-party dock that bricks your Switch and it's not the fault of Nintendo, I have a hard time feeling bad for the person that Nintendo doesn't want to honor the warranty of. Like, I mean, if it's not their thing that broke it.
Yeah, I mean, it did. And to be fair, like a dock or something like that, depending on what it's doing, it could be you have no idea what power supply or what anybody else is using for it. You're just assuming it's going to be good, and say they used a shitty cable or they overvolted the power supply, and boom, it burns up your system for some reason. Yeah. Nintendo's like, well, fuck, that's not our fault. You're the idiot who plugged it in with you plugged it in straight to the wall outlet or something stupid like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general this is probably good for the FTC to make a hard stance on it.
Yeah, it's nice to say that it's nice to see that they're making a stance, but I just don't know how they're going to enforce a lot of these.
I don't know. Customer complaints directly to the FTC. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll
I'm gonna
see.
give it a thumbs up because I'll be interested to see what happens.
We'll FTC.
Perfect 5 out of 7.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Boom.
5 thumbs out of 7.
Oh God.
What's going on?
I had the tab loaded for the YouTube video later on, and it started playing, and I'm like, who the hell is talking to me?
Yeah, that'll happen.
God damn it. Anyway, that does wrap up our technology part of the news for this week. And we instead move on to our other cool and weird shit, which is probably the biggest news last week. But an engine exploded on a Southwest Airlines flight.
Yep.
And
Second one of this engine type to do so, correct? In recent memory, right?
At least the second one in the last couple of years on a Southwest airplane.
Yeah, same engine, same airplane, right?
Yep. Same carrier, even.
Yeah.
So, for everybody who hasn't seen it, there was a flight from, I think, New York to Dallas or something like that. Southwest plane, 737, that had its port side engine, I believe, totally blow up and actually damaged the cabin.
Did they confirm that it was an uncontained fan blade failure?
I haven't seen anybody actually say it's confirmed, but from what I've heard,
it certainly looks like one.
From what I've heard is that they definitely are saying that the fan blade broke due to a crack, but I haven't heard anybody officially say that from like the NTSB or something like that.
Okay. I mean, they're almost certainly still doing their investigation.
Yeah. So the assumption here, just like what happened 2 years ago, was that the fan blade had some fatigue cracks, and obviously during operation that crack broke and it totally shot out of the engine and flew into the cabin, busted up a whole bunch of stuff.
And this failure being the second one has started to raise questions of, at least initial questions of Southwest's maintenance quality procedures.
Well, and especially I did read something else earlier or late last week, I think, that this engine was supposedly like within a week of being inspected and had passed. So it definitely raises some concerns about what were they looking for and were they using the right methods, or is there a training issue?
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if they just got like Frank walking by and bouncing a quarter off the fan blades and saying, that sounds good.
I mean, I think everybody knows
that ain't gonna cut it.
Everybody knows that Southwest has some of the oldest airplanes in probably the domestic fleets today. So it's definitely a little concerning.
I'm part of everyone.
Yeah, well, they do.
Well, I guess it's good that I'm not gonna fly Southwest then for my upcoming business trip.
So, I mean, they have some of the older planes in the fleets, and if they're not doing proper inspections, it can definitely lead to something pretty majorly serious like this, which is not good.
Yeah, we did hear a lot about this last week because we're getting ready to fly back home in a week. And so, of course, as soon as this happened, every single family member messaged us and they're like, what flight, which company are you flying with? And when are you flying? And what's happening with your flight? And you know, is this going to happen to your plane? And I'm like, no, probably not. I don't know.
I mean, even if it does, it's not going to be both engines at the same time. Like, they're still going to get the thing landed. Those things are designed to be able to fly on one engine or none.
Yeah, as long as it has wings.
Just not for very long.
The one concerning thing, especially since it did happen now twice on Southwest planes, is I mean, obviously this engine is very popular. It's probably one of the most popular engines on airplanes today, especially with how many 737s are flying around. But why is nobody else having issues when Southwest seems to be the only guys who are having problems?
Yeah, I mean,
Gremlins.
That's why people were bringing up the maintenance procedures.
Southwest has gremlins.
If that's the case, then I definitely don't want to fly Southwest.
Thumbs down. I don't like the engine exploding on my plane.
I like thumbs up because I want to have more safety inspection to make sure that my plane doesn't blow up.
I suppose if you're going to look at it that way.
That's why I'm giving it a thumbs down for the plane exploding and a perfect 5 out of 7 for them inspecting planes better.
I will admit there is something when you're on a plane, you know, when I was coming back from Australia and you're just on a plane for very, very long, you're like, we're over the ocean, we're here on a very long flight. Hopefully nothing happens.
Oh yeah. Every single time I'm on an airplane, I'm like, well, what do I do?
However,
there's not a whole lot I can do.
At the same time, flying is still safer than driving. So,
and I feel like the stuff I could do is things like bring a parachute with me on the plane, but that's really going to be frowned upon.
Seriously, question that if you.
Yeah, they're like, sir, you can't. I mean, I guess it's not expressly forbidden that you bring a parachute on an airplane, but it doesn't look very good.
We might detain you for a while.
Yeah.
Why do you have this? Just in case you guys don't have your shit together.
So, and if you don't have your shit together, somebody who doesn't is maybe iOS being created in Microsoft Word.
Yeah, this is so awesome.
I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it either. Why don't you tell us, Silas, what this is?
So this popped up on my Reddit feed the other day, and I was like, was iOS created in, and of course it was Mac. So right away I was like, I got to check this out. And then it was like crossing over into Microsoft, which is not something that, I mean, you can use it on Mac if you have to, I guess. But I was like, what is this? And
you mean Office?
Yeah.
What the fuck else would you use?
Their
Office products suck.
I'm just being like a hater right now. No, so it
Google
wasn't.
Suite.
It's not. I was like, was it created in Microsoft? I was like, did someone code all of iOS in Microsoft? Like, there's no way that worked. Like, that's not
It's a giant
how that.
macro.
Yeah, I'm like, how? That's not possible. So I click on it, and what they mean is, was iOS 7 designed in, like, the layout designed in Microsoft Word? And so he goes through, recreates every single app icon, the whole background, the layout of the whole phone, adds the image on the right away, the image for this video. Here, I'll share my screen really quick. This image right here with the phone, this image was created 100% inside of
Microsoft Word.
Microsoft Word.
But I don't understand why.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Because he
Thought it would be funny.
Well, he got 1,000 views off of it, you know.
Gee,
So that was
what
nice
did
for
he
him.
do?
That's
I don't
not
know.
very many.
It was a random weird shit. So I thought I'd share it for this week's episode.
Huh.
I mean, I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh, okay, so he did that. Yeah, he did that one. And then, like, why did you did all of these? Why did you take so much time to? And then I was like, how can you make so many different things inside of Microsoft?
I don't understand. Did he like use a painting function? Like, did he draw it, or are these just like built-in images in Word?
I mean, he was creating objects with like gradients and stuff.
Yeah. And they were like, when I watched it, I was like, there are way more tools inside of Microsoft Office than I even knew, like Microsoft Word, than I even knew existed. And why does this person know so much about the inner workings of Microsoft Word? I mean, a lot of times with
the guy who created Microsoft Word.
probably so. He's like, hey guys, check out, you can do cool stuff in here too. It just made me think with filmmaking stuff. The videos that I watch and the tutorials that I read and things, they often talk about, you know, yeah, you can do it better with this gear, or that piece of gear, or this piece of gear. And recently, one of my favorite creators on YouTube, posted this video, and he got a lot of likes from it. And then the next week he did a tutorial video, and he said, hey, I got a lot of likes and a lot of good comments, positive feedback from last week's video. I appreciate that. I just wanted to let you all know that I filmed the whole thing on my iPhone and did all this. And here's the whole process that I went through. And he said, look, I was able to make something that looked really good and felt really good by using my iPhone. But I will admit it was a lot of extra steps to get it there, to make it sync. And I had to download these extra apps, and I had to do these extra things. And so, yeah, you can do really cool design stuff inside of Microsoft Office, but it is not convenient or easy. It's a lot of extra work. So is what he compared it to something like using a, rather than using a power drill, you're using a screwdriver. You can get the job done, but it's just going to take you a lot longer. So
is Microsoft Word the new Photoshop for poor men?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm totally going to ditch my Adobe Creative Cloud suite and jump right into Microsoft Word, because heck of a lot cheaper.
There you have it. Ditch Adobe Creative Suite for Microsoft Word.
Oh, I'm gonna close this. Oh, stop sharing my screen. Nobody cares anymore. The segment's over. Okay, there we go. Anyway.
And the video started playing again for me, and now I'm like, why is this guy talking to me?
You can watch. Can't you watch it at 2 or 3 times speed?
Just speed it up real fast.
Speed. 2 times.
Great episode, guys. Perfect 5
Is
out
that
of
a
7.
thumbs up or a thumbs down? I'm gonna give it a thumbs down because
I think it's dumb.
it's dumb. It's a perfect 5 out of 7.
I'm giving it a thumbs up because I don't have to spend as much on Adobe Creative Cloud. So.
Yeah, you're right. It's the same.
Stick it to Adobe.
Exactly. It's power now. You're good to go. This podcast brought to you by Adobe. Oh, it really wasn't.
Actually, this council meeting is now adjourned.
Yeah.
And if you liked what you saw, you can check out all the past episodes of the CouncilCast at thecouncilcast.org, and you can also check out all of our podcasts being recorded live on YouTube. And you can also find our audio files on iTunes, possibly. If you'd like to have a topic you would like the council's decision on, you can tweet somebody, or you could also just tweet us at the CouncilCast, or you could email us at councilcast@gmail.com, or you could try searching Facebook for the CouncilCast, and somebody may or may not
find anything.
Maybe there, but good luck, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Me.